Welcome to President's Clash.
Thank you for joining us today and welcome to President's Clash. All right, gentlemen, let's dive into the topic of today's video. The top 5 movies that caused people to walk out. The way in which we will rate the movies will be by listing them by putting the not-so-bad movies first and leaving the worst at the end of the list. Who wants to kick off the discussion?
I'll start. Number 1 on our list is The Exorcist. Now, I know it's considered a classic, but come on, that movie was just plain ridiculous. People walking out of the theater fearing they'd be possessed. It's just a movie, folks.
The Exorcist was a horror masterpiece that had people questioning their faith and sleeping with the lights on, and that's a testament to its power. Linda Blair's performance was hauntingly good. Maybe you were just too scared covering your eyes to pay attention to the actual film.
Absolutely, Barack. The Exorcist tapped into people's deepest fears and left an unforgettable impression. It's a classic that has stood the test of time, but hey, I can understand why some folks were too spooked to stick around.
It takes more than a possessed girl and some pea soup to scare me. The whole spinning head and levitating bed just seemed like special effects gone wild. But I will admit, the film did have its moments of tension. The whole possession thing was a bit over the top for me, though. I prefer my horror with a touch of reality.
Ah, Donald, always the skeptic. But that's what makes these discussions interesting. We all have different thresholds for fear.
That's right, Barack. It tapped into our primal fears and gave us a glimpse into the battle between darkness and light. It's a film that still resonates with audiences today.
Well, I may not have been scared, but I can appreciate the impact The Exorcist had on the horror genre. It paved the way for many films that followed, even if I personally prefer a good action flick. I'd put it in the A-list.
Well, moving on to number 2 on our list is Pulp Fiction. Now, I have to admit, Quentin Tarantino sure knows how to make a movie that leaves you scratching your head. Some people just couldn't handle the non-linear storyline on this one. Pulp Fiction just leaves you clueless of what the actual plot was.
Just like you on your recent press conferences, Joe.
Shut up, Trumpy Kong.
I am kidding, relax. But I have to say that you hit the nail on the head. Pulp Fiction had more twists and turns than a roller coaster. It was garbage, and I think it's overrated. I must accept that I walked out at the middle of the movie.
Well, I have to say, Donald, not everyone is cut out for Tarantino's unique style. Some folks couldn't handle the violence and the unconventional characters. It's not for the faint of heart. But hey, if you're not up for the challenge, you might as well walk out, right? I don't think it deserves to be in the C tier. Let's give it a B.
Yeah, you're right. It could be way worse.
I would literally put it in the F tier. But it seems like you have the majority of votes and we live in a democratic country. All right, guys, let's talk about number 3, Saving Private Ryan. Now, I understand it's a war movie and all, but oh boy, was that a snooze fest. I almost walked out myself, and I'm supposed to be the leader of the free world.
Oh, Donald, you have no appreciation for historical dramas. Saving Private Ryan was a gripping tale of heroism and sacrifice. Maybe you were just confused because it didn't have explosions every 5 seconds.
Now let's give credit where it's due. Saving Private Ryan was a cinematic achievement, depicting the brutal realities of war. It's not supposed to be a Michael Bay extravaganza. I'm putting it in the S tier. I don't give a fuck what you say, Don.
You just have a bad taste, and Barrack, I'm 100% sure that Middle Eastern children also don't like seeing explosions every 5 seconds.
Let's move on, okay?
Well, number 4 on our list is The Blair Witch Project. Seriously, who thought shaky camera footage and people running around in the woods would be entertaining? It's like they handed the camera to a hyperactive squirrel.
Donald, you just don't appreciate the horror genre. The Blair Witch Project revolutionized found footage films and tapped into people's primal fears. It's a classic in its own right, but I can understand why some viewers couldn't handle the shaky camera.
I have to agree with Barack. The Blair Witch Project was a clever and effective horror film. The low-budget style added to the realism, and it still gives people chills to this day. But hey, at least I think it had people believing in witches and avoiding forests for a while.
Yep, it's a great movie, but since Donald doesn't like it, I think we'll put it in the A tier. What do you think, Donnie?
Do whatever you want, it's still a pile of shit for me.
As you wish, sweetheart.
Lastly, we have Mother. Now, I don't know what Darren Aronofsky was thinking, but that movie was just a hot mess. People were walking out in confusion. What a pretentious mess of a movie. I still can't believe people paid money to see that nonsense.
Mother was definitely a mind-bender. It's one of those movies that you either love or hate. But hey, at least it got people talking, even if they were talking about how bad the movie was and how confused they were.
I have to agree, Barack. Mother was like a puzzle with missing pieces. Some people just couldn't put it together and it drove them to walk out. Sometimes directors cross the line between trying to make a complicated movie that leaves you discussing with everyone about them and just making a shit movie that no one understood. I think it's finally time to make use of the C tier. Well, gentlemen, we may not always agree on movies, but we certainly know how to have a good time discussing them. That's what makes our conversation so entertaining.
You're right, Donald. It's all about appreciating different perspectives and having a good laugh along the way. That's what friends do, even if we were once presidents.
Absolutely, but speak for yourself, guys. I'm still the current president of the United States. So, folks, let us know your thoughts on these movies. Did you walk out of any of them? We'd love to hear your funny and outrageous stories.
Glad you still remember that, Joe. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more hilarious discussions and debates. We've got plenty of topics to keep the laughter going. Make sure to follow President's Clash for more videos like this.